What's up, guys? Pat here with Sean West from SeanWest.com, Sean West TV.
I'm gonna stop you. His last name is McCabe. His middle name is Wes. It's confusing.
Oh, really?
Thanks, kid.
Yeah. I saw Sean make a face, so I just wanted to make it clear.
Okay, so I'll just say Sean.
It's real quick. When I got online, Sean McCabe was actually kind of a popular name in the creative space, and even though it was my full name, I thought I want to make something that's just my own, a unique thing that doesn't exist. So I took my middle name Wesley and shortened it and mashed it together, so you have Sean West. So that's kind of like my company name, but my full name, Sean McCabe.
McCabe, okay.
Sorry,
Did you erase that or keep it?
No, it's in there.
Okay, let's just keep going then.
Go for it.
Like we could use with that. Okay, so Sean. Sean from SeanWest.com, Sean West TV, and the Sean West podcast. I met Sean here at the conference we're at, and I'm loving everything he's doing. I wanted to share him with you, and I think you're going to enjoy hearing about his origin story and how he's been super focused and actually made certain shifts in his life very, very purposefully. So Sean, just welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Pat. It's a thrill. I've been a long-time listener of your podcast.
Thank you.
I'm super excited to be able to sit down and talk with you.
And we have a lot of the same friends. Caleb, who's running the cameras right now, I know you're good friends with him. And so start from the beginning, like where I know you because I found you through Caleb, and then I also scoped out your Instagram channel, which has like the most beautiful lettering I've ever seen. So I'm like, Sean, that his thing is lettering, and you're doing a lot more other things now, but let's talk about like your origin story. How did you get started?
Sure. My background's in design, and I was doing websites, and for some reason, for me, it was just kind of a job, and it took meeting with a friend to, you hear people say, do what you love, and it's kind of become a cliche thing now, but for me, at the time, it was the first time I heard it, and this guy said, he was doing hand lettering, and I thought it was so cool. I did that kind of thing in middle school, but I didn't really ever pursue it later on, and he said, if you enjoy it, just do it. Like, you don't have to worry about it being a job or being something that can sustain you, just do it for fun. And I thought, yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I was working a day job, like 8 to 6, and in my nights and weekends, I started just practicing hand lettering, just practicing. I would spend 6 to 8 hours a night every single day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
After my day job. Like I didn't do anything else. I didn't go to parties. I wasn't watching TV. I just drew lettering. And over the course of about 4 or 5 years, I spent 9,000 hours just practicing lettering. And the first 2 years, I started sharing it online. And the first 2 years, nobody cared. Nobody really noticed it. I had like a few friends that knew I did it, but something happened 2 years in. This is kind of my mantra. I say show up every day for 2 years. Something about 2 years in, people, they just start to notice. They started asking for t-shirts of my designs and prints of my designs, and so I started selling some prints and stuff. But where it kind of blew up was there were a lot of people at the time wanting to learn how to do what I did. And I wasn't really sharing anything on that at all. I had just been creating my own work. I was working for clients. I got to the point where I was working with really big names, big magazines, charging really good rates for a hand letterer. But so many people wanted to learn how to do what I did. And I think just from like, I first heard about you, I think from your podcasting tutorial. But you've shared so much of what you know, and when I started sharing what I knew, I put up this guide online. It was just like a 10-step introductory lettering guide, and over the course of a year, 200,000 people read that guide.
Wow. And that was free for people to check out?
It was totally free. I didn't know anything about email marketing. I didn't have an email list until 2013. And I just put this up on my site. It wasn't behind an opt-in or anything. I didn't even know anything about that. So these 200,000 people read it on the site. I didn't even have a sign up during that time. But I realized, wow, there's clearly this resurgent interest in hand lettering. And I think it's because as things become more digital and more automated, we're yearning for that human element, something that reminds us that there's a person with a soul behind this design that we're seeing.
Right. When you first started lettering, I'm curious because it's a lot to add an additional 6 or 7 hours to do something during the day. What was the reason for putting that much time into it? I mean, did you just love it, or was there a goal behind what you were doing?
It wasn't at all anything that I thought was going to be work or that I could get clients. It was totally just that I loved it. It's that I didn't do it in the beginning because I thought, if I'm going to spend a bunch of time on something, it needs to be something that can make money. It needs to be something that can be a job. And for some reason, this friend, he unlocked it for me. It was like, hey, you can just do it because you enjoy it. And that's what I did for the first 2 years before I even made any kind of money from it.
And then you had said you put 9,000 hours, and this kind of reminds me of Malcolm Gladwell, the whole 10,000 hour rule. And you became sort of an expert at it. And I've looked at your channel, Sean Webb, on Instagram, and it's amazing. It's some of the most beautiful lettering I've ever seen, and I'm so inspired by it. I'm like, where can I get these shirts now? And so I can see that, and then people are being interested in how you do this, and then they download this guide, and then where do you go from there? That must have been an incredible realization, but also a little bit like, wow, what do I do next?
Well, I saw that 200,000 people read this, and I thought, well, there's definitely room to go a lot deeper here. I had a lot more to share. And so at the time I was doing client work, I ramped up the client work, worked really hard, sometimes 18-hour days for long stretches, just working hard, saving up money from client work so that I could quit the client work and spend 6 months producing an online course that taught people how to make a living as a hand lettering artist. So here's the interesting part. Most of the hand lettering courses in this space were like maybe $29, not very much. It just seems like a little hobby. But before I got into art, I had started a web firm, I'd started a computer repair business, so I kind of had this business experience to bring to the art world, which I think is a unique angle on it. There's this, for some reason, artists have a really hard time with the business elements. Right. They feel like, oh, I'm a sellout, or I shouldn't be making money off of this. There's kind of these mental blocks, and I was fortunate enough to have come into art through business, so I didn't have this kind of starving artist mentality. And I thought, well, my unique intersection is I have the business experience, but I also spent 9,000 hours on the practical skill. So rather than just teach people how to draw letters, I was going to teach them how to make a living as a hand lettering artist, because that's exactly what I'd done. So I priced this at $299, so way higher, 10 times the industry average. But I could do that because I had a unique value proposition.
And there was a lot more value that you were giving, obviously, and people could potentially make a lot more money than and it's more than just lettering. It's lettering with purpose behind it,
right?
Which was amazing. So tell me about the launch of this. So you spent 6 months creating this course. Why did it take that long?
It took that long. So on total honesty here, I actually produced the course itself in the final 2 to 3 weeks. So the initial time was actually doing what I call backwards building, just building that buzz. So I put up this landing page. I spent the first 3 months just on the landing page, like making these custom illustrations, crafting the narrative. And I was just immersing myself in marketing at the time, just learning everything I could, from people like you, all these free resources online, just learning. I even bought a Bluetooth speaker for my shower and like waterproof notes just to take notes, learn everything I could. And I was just going to apply this to the launch. So the first 3 months were actually spent on this landing page. By then I learned about email marketing, and you need to put a sign up for people. And I also was getting these conflicting pieces of advice from people saying, oh, you got to put it at the top, make sure people see it above the fold. And other people saying, no, you got to tell a good story. Well, I told a story so long that it was 8,000 pixels tall, and the only sign up was at the very bottom, and I was getting 100 signups a day.
Wow.
They were obviously really into the story, scrolling down. And what I did with this landing page was I imagined that this product is available to buy, and I'm telling the story exactly as if it's available to buy, but it's not yet. So here's the sign up. I'm going to give you the guide that I previously had publicly on the page. I just turned that into a PDF, gave that as a lead magnet, and then said, I'm also going to let you know when we launch, you're going to get the early bird pricing and all of that.
Right. So you've sort of validated the concept even before you created the course.
And before I knew what validating was.
Right. Awesome. Like, nice job. And I think what's very apparent here with Sean is he focuses 100% of its efforts on one thing at a time. It was your 9,000 hours with lettering, and then it was the client work that you were doing, and then with building the course and actually making room to do that. Can you speak on your work ethic and how did you know to kind of make it happen like that?
So I really was just responding to the people that were in my audience. I was originally selling products, I was putting up work and getting clients from it, but people wanted to learn how to do what I did, and so I just started responding to that. They were asking me questions, and I turned that into the content, and I think that's what really made it resonate with people, was listening to them and then incorporating their questions into the material. So when I launched this course, I had grown a list of 15,000 people. And in the first 3 days, it hit 6 figures in revenue.
Nice.
And this was crazy for me. I mean, I think I'd only ever made half of that in a year prior to this point. Mm-hmm. And certainly, like, my friends and family had no idea. Kind of for me, I had this longer term vision, and it was finally like the tip of the iceberg that everyone could see, but it still blew me away. Like, I had some projections, but I thought maybe I'll make 30,000, or if I could hit 50,000, that would be awesome. So it just blew everything out of the water.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank
by
you.
the way. That's an amazing story. And then that's not the end of it, though. You've done a lot more since then. Where did you go after that first launch? So successful course, what happened next?
It was basically the beginning of me sharing what I know. So at that point, I started a twice-a-week podcast, the Sean West podcast, just total open book, iterating in public, just sharing everything I know. And
not about lettering specifically.
No, just about kind of the intersection of creativity and business. So helping creative people, whether they're designers or artists, mm-hmm. Kind of get a handle on the business stuff, whether that's working with clients or selling your own products or teaching or marketing. I shifted my focus from just lettering to teaching online marketing, teaching business principles, kind of the timeless stuff that people need to know in order to kind of make a living on, forging their own path.
Right, and it's great that you had obviously been successful in another niche outside of that space, because I know a lot of people who do teach internet marketing who are just rehashing stuff that other people have said. You're using your own experience.
That actually, it kind of held me back a little bit. Like I was concerned, because I thought, how could I teach business when people just see me as a hand lettering artist? I had this kind of limited mindset thinking, oh, I'm just an artist. How could I teach? And it took like a year or two for me to realize, actually, that's the greatest boon ever, is I have this case study, essentially. Like, I got good at a skill. I worked with clients. I taught this stuff, and it allowed me to share what I knew in this experience. It wasn't just I'm making money teaching people online how to make money, like this kind of recursive thing. It's like I had a case study, and I didn't realize that was such a huge benefit to focus on a skill first.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did with the lead exam stuff before I got into the space. That's how I've been able to stand out, and I'm 100% sure that's how you've been able to stand out too. My question to you is, now that you're kind of moving in this direction of helping people create their business, intersection of business and creativity, which I love that stance, how much lettering stuff are you still doing? Is that course still available? Like, how are you leaving that behind, if you are?
Well, since then, I've hired a team. We're actually 7 full-time people now, whereas just over a year ago it was just me. So we actually reproduced the whole course. Originally, I shot it myself just with tripods and did all of the editing, and now I've got a full-time video guy. So we reproduced it, relaunched it, again 6 figures at the launch. Nice. But now that I have this team helping me, we did reproduce the lettering course, but I've focused less on lettering. And what work I have done on lettering, actually, what I found is, as much as I enjoyed the process of lettering was the first thing that really gave me a voice. So I created something beautiful which got people's attention, and that gave me a platform to share a message, to share a message of positivity and encouragement. And I realized lettering was one medium through which I could share a message with the world. And I realized that I could do that through podcasting, I could do that through videos and through writing. And now writing is just the biggest thing for me, because I write now 1 million words a year, over 1 million words a year, because everything starts with writing for me. and just everything comes from writing. You got podcasts, videos, courses, speaking, and so I just really honed in on writing, and sometimes that does take the form of lettering. Sometimes it does take the form of a course or a video or a podcast, but the lettering that I have done has kind of shifted from one fancy looking word or like a quote or phrase to the message that I have to share, the thing that I want to get out into the world.
One thing I thought you did was cool, and you showed me this when we were out at a ping pong bar the other day, playing ping pong, and you had shared with me this logo that you created for Austin. It's like, it was so cool to me that you're like, you know what, Austin, which is where you're from, needs a logo, and you just designed this thing, and I've seen it like on Instagram and stuff, and other people are using it in their own way. Wow. Like, talk about kind of the bigger picture here for you in that sense.
So when I was doing lettering as, working with clients, I at one point worked with the city of Las Vegas, and I was doing these hand-drawn, business-to-business type advertisements, and Las Vegas has their own logo. It's very recognizable.
Right.
I asked them if I could hand render it, because they superimposed the graphic on the advertisement that I was designing, and I said, could I draw the logo to make it fit in with the other hand-drawn stuff? And they said, yeah, knock yourself out. It's like, this is awesome. But in that experience, I actually live in San Antonio right now, but I really love Austin, and I hope we'll end up here at some point. But I was like, well, Las Vegas has a logo. I think Austin deserves a logo. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to design a logo, and I'm going to put it out there, and people can download it, and they can use it. And so I had like stickers made and stuff, and just started sharing it around, but I don't know if it'll ever take off. It's kind of a grassroots effort, but I just put it out there.
That's pretty awesome. That's cool. And last thing, you have an event that you're going to be doing. I think a lot of people might be interested if you're in the area on what this event is about and when it is. Can you talk about it really quick?
Sure. So along with the podcast, we started a community membership site, and I had such a great experience with these people online, meeting from all over, just across the world. Like, we would stream our podcast several times a week and be able to engage with people during the show, but they continue talking with each other throughout the week, in our chat system, and they've built such great relationships and accountability that I just wanted to be able to do this in person. So we started doing meetups in New York City and Dallas and San Francisco, awesome. And people just started coming out, and we were having these awesome conversations, and I thought, why don't we take this to the next level? And so we decided we're going to do a conference in Austin. So it's Sean West Conference, and it's basically, my background is design, so there's a lot of creative people, but it's really just thinking bigger and growing your business, getting around people who just think at a higher level to be able to kind of upgrade your mindset.
Cool. And where can people go to get information about that?
SeanWest.com/conference.
So SEANWES.com.
That's it.
Okay. Awesome. And so are you going to be like presenting at that one and doing slides? Like, I'm curious, do you hand render your own slides?
Oh man, I have done talks like that before, but it takes so long.
Because, I come from a design space too, in architecture. Like, I take pride in my slides. I spend a lot of time on them. But to somebody who letters and hand draws things, I'm just curious. So
I used to, but not all the time. Sometimes I'll mix in little things.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Sean over at SeanWest.com, Sean West TV, and the Sean West podcast, and then the conference coming up too. Check them out. Awesome. We'll have all the links, wherever you're watching this right now. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pat.